Shabbat Shalom. Good morning and Shabbat Shalom. Let's try that again. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And welcome to Adith Emmanuel. I'm delighted that you could all be here with us in person, for those of you who are here in the sanctuary, as well as those of you who are joining us through the blessing of technology. On this Shabbat morning, which we celebrate here at our synagogue, one of our own being called to the Torah, we wish Harvey Nossen a mazel tov, as you will be leading us in the service and reading Torah and teaching us in a few more things. This may look like we are on stage and you are in the audience, but that is not the case at all. We are all one community, and so we need everyone's participation. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rabbi Amy Memes-Foler, along with our cantorial leader, Sandy Messenger-Aguilar, along with our accompanist, Reed Bodenstein. We will be helping Harvey as he leads the service this morning, so we want to make sure that all of you have a prayer book. If you're sitting in the second row and behind, you can find these books in the seats in front of you. If you're sitting in the front row, it will be under the seats. And if you can't find one by the seat in which you're sitting, there are some empty seats, and feel free to get up and find one of these prayer books. It's the thin blue one that says Mishkan Tefillah. Also, when we are announcing page numbers in the prayer book, they will be the numbers in the brackets. The numbers in the brackets. When God was giving the Torah to Moses on Mount Sinai, God spoke to Moses saying, "This is a holy and sacred occasion. Speak to the Israelites and say to them, be sure that your cell phones are turned to the off or silent position, because this is a holy and sacred occasion." So Moses spoke to the Israelites and said to them, "Be sure that your cell phones are turned to the off and silent positions," at which point the Israelites took out their phones to double check and triple check, even if they thought they had left their cell phones in the tent, that they were indeed in the silent or off position. And God said to Moses, "Furthermore, there shall be no texting nor photography during this holy and sacred occasion." And so it was. And that is why we have no idea what it looked like when God gave the Torah to Moses at Mount Sinai. Seriously, folks, if you do need to use your electronic devices, please don't use it in the sanctuary during the service. We ask that you step out into the foyer, and hopefully you will be able to return as soon as possible and join us in the rest of the service. We begin our service now in song as we turn in our prayer books in our Siddur to page 128 in the brackets, page 128, singing Ma Yafeh Hayom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We turn now in our Siddur to page 287, page 287 in the brackets. At the bottom of the page, we read responsively. We give thanks to you, O God, for this Shabbat day, which unites us as a community of faith and hope, for the holiness of Shabbat, which can lead us to fill the best that is in us. We give thanks. For the memories of Shabbat, enriched by generations of our people who observed it, and from it drew courage to face hardship and light to banish darkness, we are grateful. We offer thanks for the peace of Shabbat, the day consecrated to family love. O God, our turning to you exalts our humanity. You are the joy of our life, the source of its greatness, its power, and its beauty. Help us, O God, to find inspiration. Help us to find inspiration. As we, at this time, turn to page 288, we invite Robin and Steve Greenberg to the Bima to present Harvey with his talit. And so, Harvey, you'll come over as well.
As I wrap myself in the talit, I fulfill the mitzvah of my Creator. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahitatek b'tzitzit.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to wrap ourselves in the fringes.
Harvey, it gives me and Mom great pleasure to present you with this talis that I wore at my bar mitzvah almost 60 years ago, and this little talis clip that was given to you by your cousin Eli, as well as this talis bag that Mom made, that she needlepointed. And this will link you from generation to generation, at least until you grow out of this, which should be about in a week. Anyway, I hope you'll wear it with the pride and joy that we feel today, and that will link you from generation to generation and to the traditions that our faith has up until now. Mazel tov.
May my life be one link in a chain of goodness. As I say the prayers of my ancestors, help me to recall their devotion and faithfulness, their joy and suffering, which are in every word. Holiness is my heritage. May I be worthy of it. May our tradition live in me and pass from me to generations I shall never know, enriched by the truth that I have found and the good deeds I have done. So may I fulfill my task on earth and receive my blessing. And when the service ends and the prayers have ceased, help me to bring their spirit into the world in which I live. May I love God above all and my neighbor as myself, and be a living witness to the truth that never changes.
We continue now on page 290, 290.
Israel,
We continue on page 291. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom, you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware. We would lack the strength to sustain life before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofecho basar umafli la'asot. We continue on page 293.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasek vivina, lehavchin ben yom uvein laila.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hokeach ivrim.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzadei kaver.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hanotein layaef koach.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir she'na me'enai, unupa me'afa apai.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shasani b'tselem Elohim.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben chorin.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shasani Yisrael.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael betifara.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Please turn to page 313 and rise for the call to worship. Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach, Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praised be Adonai, to whom praise is due, now and forever. The world is sunlight, restoring the soul, rejoicing the heart, bringing light to the eyes, more welcomed than gold, a Torah from heaven. I have no light to give this morning. My Torah, my special human gift, is words. As I bring my words forth from silence, welcome them, you who redeems the sun from darkness. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer Hamorot. We read responsively on page 317. O God, inspiration and guide for all, you have spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear. In every land and every age, your children have heard you and imagined you in separate ways. And yet, O God, you are one, unifier of humanity.
We give thanks for the sages and teachers.
May the teachings of our ancestors live in our minds, and their passion for righteousness stir our hearts. Help us to live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of your truth. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha V'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'chayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kidoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lachem le'elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem.
We continue on page 321 as we read together. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. We continue on page 323. As we are able, we rise for tefillah.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham ve'Elohei Yitzhak ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vizocher Hasdei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah Ra Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Hayim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Baal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit, Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמם, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זלזל ואמר, קדוש קדוש קדוש, אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כיבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נזקים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
May be seated as we continue on page 329 with Yismachu.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, בקוראי שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, בקוראי שבת.
We continue on page 330. It's my pleasure to welcome to the Bima Shep and Susan Greenberg to lead us in this prayer.
On this Sabbath day, as you graciously receive our prayers, help us to hear your call. Grant us enough health to fulfill our duties and the compassion we need to attend to others. Teach us humility that we may perceive our own faults, and grant us the wisdom to be forgiving of others. Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves, and the charity to see the best in those around us. Give us patience enough not to be discouraged, hope enough to overcome all fears for the future, and faith enough to know your presence. O source of blessings, look with favor upon us. May our offerings be acceptable to you. We praise you, Adonai, whom alone we serve in reverence.
As we turn now in our prayer books to page 332, at the bottom of the page, it's my pleasure to welcome to the Bima Marcia Feist Moore and Bruce Moore to read us in this prayer. There's a refrain responsively that we read, Modim anachnu lach. It means we give you thanks.
So it's this part? Yeah.
For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations. Modim anachnu lach, for this fragile planet, Earth, in times and tides, sunsets and seasons. Modim anachnu lach.
For the joy of
Human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements.
Modim
For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression, for high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared, for all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others may live its dignity and freedom, for human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose.
We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes,
not by our words, but by our deeds.
Okay. Thank you.
We continue now on page 334 with Sim Shalom.
Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Chen v'chesed v'rachamim Chen v'chesed sim shalom. Tova uvracha. Sim shalom, tova
We continue our prayer now silently, whether we are led by the words on the pages of our Siddur through page 337, or other prayers throughout the prayer book, or those meditations and thoughts in our hearts.
Use shalom bimrama, uyase shalom aleinu. Use shalom bimrama, uyase shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimrama, uyase shalom aleinu. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'alko Yisrael. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'alko Yisrael. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'alko Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'alko Yisrael.
We continue now with Seder Kriyat Torah for the reading of the Torah, which you can find in your prayer books on page 363, in the brackets. It's my pleasure to call to the bima Zach, along with Nathaniel and Nora Nossen, and Eli Spencer and Harrison Greenberg, who are going to be our ark openers. Sometimes that's the easiest way. And we invite those who are in the chain of tradition, the generations who are coming before Harvey, to come to the bima. Lynn Feist and Steve Nossen, Robin and Steve Greenberg, along with Michael and Cindy. On page 363. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah, and let their children, who do not yet know it, hear, that they too may learn to revere Adonai your God. We rise.
Ki mitzion tizek Torah
Harvey, I am holding in my arms a very special Torah scroll that's part of the Addith Emmanuel community. This scroll is just a little over a year old, and it was written by a sofer, but really by the people of this congregation, so that we would have a new scroll especially appropriate for B'nai Mitzvah to hold and carry. And when I read from this Torah, the letters are just so clear and beautiful. And so now you're standing in a line with generations that have come before you. Physically, they're standing here. And then there are those who are standing in this line, who are with you through the gift of memory. I think about, had there been one generation, going all the way back to God giving the Torah to Moses at Sinai, had there been one generation that said, we are not going to teach Torah to the next generation, we could not stand here today to place this Torah in your arms, not only for you to hold physically, but to have you guide you in your life and live by, and now the Torah will be in your hands to pass to the next generation. And so your grandparents and parents are going to share with you a few words. So we'll listen to the grandparents first. Do you want to give the microphone to the grandparents?
And now we pray that you, Harvey, may always be worthy of this inheritance. Take its teachings into your heart and in turn pass it to your children and those who come after you. May you be a faithful Jew, searching for wisdom and truth, working for justice and peace.
Le'or
Our Torah portion for this Shabbat is Shalach Lecha, and Harvey's going to be reading from the book of Numbers, chapter 13, verse 1 and following. And if you would like to follow along, there are some larger Torah commentary books in the seats in front of you, or if you're in the first row, under the seats. And you can follow along on page 1107, 1107, Numbers chapter 13, verse 1 and following. For the first Aliyah, we call to the Torah Lauren and Adam Greenberg, Jay and Renee Nossen. Na la'amod Leah bat Yisrael ve'Rachel ve'Avram ben Meir u'Malka ve'Sholom ben Yosef ve'Leah ve'Renei levarech ala Torah Aliyah Rishonah. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vaydaber Adonai El Moshe Lemor Shalach Lecha Anashim Ve'aturu Et Eretz Canaan Asher Ani Noten Livnei Yisrael Ish Echad Limatei Avotav Tishlahu Kol Nasi Vahem Vayishla Otam Moshe Mimidbar Haran Alpi Adonai Kulam Anashim Rashi B'nai Yisrael Hema.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
For our second Aliyah, we call to the Torah Robin and Steve Greenberg. Na la'amod Rachel bat Yitzchak v'Chava v'Yisrael ben Velvel v'Leah levarech ala Torah Aliyah Shniya.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ve'ele Shemotam Limatei Reuven Shimua ben Zachor Limatei Shimon Shaphat ben Chori Limatei Yehuda Kalev ben Yefuneh.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
For the third Aliyah, we call to the Torah Lynn Feist and Steve Nossen. Na la'amod Leah bat Tzvi v'Rachel Bina v'Yosef ben Yoachim v'Chaya levarech al Torah Aliyah Shlishit.
Baruch hu et Adonai hambarach.
Baruch Adonai hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai, Baruch atah hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Asher b'charbanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. Limate Yisachar Yigal ben Yosef. Limate Ephraim Hoshea bin Nun. Limate Binyamin Palti ben Rafu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
For the fourth Aliyah, we call Cindy and Michael. Na la'amod Chava bat Yisrael v'Rachel v'Yaakov ben Yosef v'Leah levarech al Torah Aliyah Revi'it.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamborach.
Baruch Adonai hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Limate Zivulun Gadiel ben Sodi. Limate Yosef. Limate Menashe Gadi ben Susi. Limate Dan Amiel ben Gemali.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
And for our fifth Aliyah, we call our bar mitzvah, Harvey Nossen. Na la'amod, na la'amod, na la'amod. Tzvi ben Yaakov v'Chaya bar hamitzvah. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Limate Asher Sitor ben Michael. Limate Naphtali Nachbi ben Vafsi. Limate Gad Geuel ben Machi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Simen tovu, mazel tovu, simen tov. Simen tovu, mazel tovu, simen tov. Simen tovu, mazel tovu, simen tov. Gelanu, gelanu.
We turn our thoughts and prayers now to those who are in need of healing, and so we turn in our prayer books to page 371 in the brackets in the middle of the page. If you're joining us through the blessing of technology and you're thinking of someone who is in need of healing, you can feel free to add their name to the chat or comments at this time. Those in the congregation will have an opportunity to share names after I share with you these people in our extended Addith Emmanuel family to whom we send our blessings of healing. Karen Mora, Brian Zabel, Nick Bod, Alice Oppenheimer, Amanda Fink Krasner, Deb Nielsen, Moshe Ben Elizabeth the Theodore, Rosalie Middleman, Jennifer Ness, Mel Klein, George Goldstein, Harriet Eisner, Carla Teisch, Linda Drachman, Chaim Ben David, Eileen Davison, Craig Davison, Hugh Morton, Art Bond, Roberta Levine, Jordan Steinberg, Lisa Galda, Ed Crosby, Myra Kaplan, Jeff Schaefer, Lulu Revuela, Marion Gwertz, Aaron Tepper, Lily Tepper, Louis Alahat, Tricia Tepper, Carol Schaefer, Mary Mednitsky, Jocelyn Jackson, Jen Jones, Shirley Friedlander, Michael Infante, Gary Garnick, Ann Marsden, Rick Ulrich, Ileana Cohn. And if you have a loved one whose name you'd like to mention aloud, who is in need of healing, whether it be a healing of the mind, body, or spirit, I invite you at this time to rise and mention those names aloud as my hand passes through the congregation. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim. At this time, it's my pleasure to call to the Bima Alan Greenberg and David Nossen, along with Stacy Greenberg, who are going to help lift and dress Torah. Nala Amod, Hamagbiot v'Hagolelet. The congregation rises. And then I'll give you to return.
V'zot haTorah asher samosha livnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Eilech amda libi usana v'yonati talei.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My Haftorah portion is verses 20 through 24 in chapter 2 from the book of Joshua. This takes place 40 years after my Torah portion. Joshua is now the leader of the Israelites. He sends out 2 spies to scout out the land of Canaan. This has a direct connection to my Torah portion. In both, spies are sent out to scout Canaan. Also, the presence of Joshua is the same in both. My portion can be found on page 1264 in the commentary book. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratzah v'divrehem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah Uv Moshe Avdo, Uv Yisrael Amo, Uv Invieh Ha'emet V'Tzedek. Ve'im Tagidi et Devarenu Zeh V'Hayinu Nekim Mishavuateh asher hishbatanu vatomer kedivrehem kenhu vatishalechem vayelechu vatikshor et tikvat hashani bachalon vayelchu Vayavau hahara vayeshevu sham shiloshet yamim ad shavu harodifim vayvakshu harodifim bechol haderech velo matzahu Vayashuvu Shnei Ha'anashim Vayeridu Mehahar Vayavru Vayavohu El Yehoshua Binun Vaysapru Lo Et Kol Hamotzeot Otam Vayomru El Yehoshua Ki Natan Adonai Beyadenu Et Kol Haaretz V'gam Nami Namogu Kol Yoshevei Haaretz Mipanenu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Sor kol hayalamim Tzadik bechol hadorot Ha'el ha'ne'eman Ha'omer v'oseh Hamdaber u'mkayem Shekal devarav Emet v'tzedek Al haTorah V'yal ha'avodah V'yal ha'anvi'im V'yal yom ha'shabbat hazeh Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu Likdusha v'limnucha Lechavod u'tifaret Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu modim lach Umvarchim ota Yidvara shimcha B'fichal hai tamid le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Shabbat Shalom. My portion is Shalach Lecha from the book of Numbers. In this portion, God has Moses send out scouts, or as it is described in the portion, emissaries. Each of these emissaries represents a tribe of Israel. They were to scout out the land of Canaan. They return after 40 days to share their findings with the people. They tell the people that the land is fruitful, but inhabited by giants that are too big and too strong to fight. This is only what is told by 10 of them, however. The 2 other scouts, Caleb and Joshua, believe that they can conquer the land with the support of the people. The different reports lead to controversy among the people. Protests break out. Many of them insist that they would rather die in the wilderness than risk going to Canaan. They even go as far as saying, "Let us head back to Egypt." After this, God threatens to abandon the people for their disloyalty and create new ones for Moses to lead. Moses pleads to God to spare the people. He explains that God's reputation is on the line. If they are to be destroyed, it will only appear as if God freed these people from Egypt only to destroy them in the wilderness. God listens to Moses and makes a compromise. The adults are to die in the wilderness for their lack of faith and loyalty. Then, only after 40 years of wandering, will their children conquer the land of Israel. When talking about the meaning of this portion, there are many interpretations. Of all of the interpretations I read, there is one main question. What was the sin of the spies? Most of these rabbis said similar things. They explained that the sin of the emissaries was that they planted fear in the minds of the people through false information. They explained that the spies were chosen leaders and trusted people. One interpretation stood out to me, however. Rabbi Moses ben Nachman, or Nachmanides, explains that the sin of these emissaries was not spreading false information. He says that what they said was not false, and that they reported what they saw. Their sin, Nachmanides explains, is the misunderstanding of the purpose of the mission and the manner of reporting it back. In his interpretation, he tells us that the purpose of the mission was reconnaissance. They were supposed to go to the land of Israel and report back strategic details that could be beneficial in battle and conquering the land. Moses is prepared for war, and they are to bring back details to ensure victory. He says that the entire future of the people depends upon their reports. Nachmanides then explains that the true sin of the spies is the tone of delivery of the information. They start by praising the land and listing all of its good things. They then switch to the negative side. They use the word ephes, meaning but. They talk about the people who currently inhabit the land. They describe them as unhuman-like and unconquerable. This bestows fear in the people. Nachmanides says that it is the negative presentation of the spies that panics the people. He also explains that they undermined the authority of Moses. They were asked not just to report the land, but the numbers of people. They failed to report back if there were many or few inhabitants. One last thing he explains is the fact that they reported to everyone instead of privately just to Moses. They announced their bad news in front of everyone. They then went from tent to tent spreading their report. Now, some of these ideas can be translated into modern times. Things like open-mindedness and honesty are still very relevant in today's world. However, there can be different interpretations that are more closely related to this day and age. One idea that can be translated to today is that our leaders aren't always honest, trustworthy, and who we think they are. All of the emissaries were elected leaders of the tribes. They then lied to the people and intentionally caused chaos. One example of this is in our own country. We have had 46 presidents. Of those 46, 3 have been impeached, though none removed. This was after they were voted into office by the citizens of this country. There are many reasons why someone may become disliked after being chosen as a leader. Lots of people change after being put in a position of power. This was the case with the emissaries. These 12 men had the fate of an entire people in their hands. Once they were put in a position of power, they got greedy. They didn't want to do what was beneficial for the people. They did what they wanted. They were afraid of change. Because of this, they made it sound like they had no choice but to stay where they are. As a result of the bad decisions and greediness of the emissaries, everyone had to suffer. They had to wander for 40 years as punishment for what a few people did. This is the problem all over the world still today. While there will always be leaders today, like those ancient Israelite emissaries, It is our job to hold them accountable and elect leaders who will be honest and do what is right for the people. As many of you know, I love sports. I decided to use this passion for my Mitzvah project. I held a drive for used sports equipment. I collected over 3 bins of equipment, from balls to pads to ice skates. I then donated this equipment to the Kids with Dreams Foundation. The Kids with Dreams Foundation is a foundation based out of Maple Shade, New Jersey. Their mission statement is inspiring younger generations to pursue their dreams and aspirations in sports. Now finally, I have some people to thank. I'll start by thanking everyone who donated equipment to my drive. It was greatly appreciated. Next, I would like to thank my brother Zach. He stayed out of the way every time I practiced. Maybe so he didn't have to hear me sing, but that's besides the point. Next, I would like to thank all of my Hebrew school teachers over the years. They taught me so much. I learned how to read and write Hebrew. I also learned the prayers I needed for today. Now I would like to thank Larry Marcus. Without him, I wouldn't be able to do what I did today. He tutored me throughout the year, so I was able to recite my Torah and my Haftorah. My next thanks goes to Cantor Sandy. She helped me on my final run-through, so I was prepared for today. Her recordings were also very useful for studying my prayers, Torah verses, and Haftorah verses. Next, I would like to thank Rabbi Memes Fuller. She helped me write this very speech. Without her, this wouldn't sound nearly as good as it does. Next, I would like to thank my amazing parents for helping me with everything along the way. They drove me to lessons, helped me practice, and planned an entire party for me. They also made me who I am. Without them, today would have been much harder. Finally, I would like to thank each of you. To all of my amazing friends and family that are here today, in person or virtually, to witness my becoming a bar mitzvah. Shabbat Shalom.
Mazel tov to you, Harvey, and especially Cindy and Michael and Zach and grandparents and family and all of us here. It's all our mazel tov. We all get to join in the joy of this day, and you're becoming a bar mitzvah. Harvey, you taught us important lessons about the spies, and thank you for that. How their sin was, it could be multiple levels, but you focused on that concept of how they planted the fear and they spread it in other people's minds, and how today you pointed out that we need to hold our leaders accountable and that they are honest and trustworthy in their work. And I think that's a very timely and timeless message that you shared with us. So thank you for that. And I think that these are in part traits that you show as a person, along with being honest and trustworthy, responsible, loyal, open-minded, and faithful. There's another part of the Torah in Shalach Lecha this morning, at the very end, that talks about tzitzit. Tzitzit being the fringes on the corner of the talit. And these verses in the Torah read, "Speak to the Israelite people and instruct them to make for themselves tzitzit, fringes, on the corners of their garments throughout the ages. That shall be your fringe. Look at it, and recall the commandments of the eternal your God, and observe them." So a medieval French rabbi and commentator by the name of Rashi noticed that there's a numerical value in the word tzitzit. So tzitzit is spelled Tzadi Yud, Tav. And there's a gematria, meaning that each Hebrew letter has an assigned number to it. And this is the math part of the service. So everybody get you don't need to pull out your calculators, but if you do need to take your socks off to count on your toes, get ready. Tzadi is 90. Yud is 10. Then another Tzadi is 90. And another Yud is 10. and tav is 400. You got the number? 90 plus 10 plus 90 plus 10 plus 400 is? So the math, according to Rashi, is 600, which is a great number. But when the rabbis play these gematria games, sometimes the numbers don't come out exactly as they want it. So then what Rashi said is take the actual fringe. So if you're near somebody with a talit or you have a talit you can share, and count the number of strands on just one fringe, and you'll find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 fringes, 8 strands on one fringe, and then you have to count the knots. So wait, we have 8, right? So keep that number in mind. Plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 600 plus 8 plus 5 is 613. For those of you who don't know, that is the number of commandments that we find in the Torah. Now, to say one observes all 613 commandments today would not be quite accurate because so many of those commandments surround sacrifices, and for someone like me as a Reformed Jew, I interpret them differently and observe those commandments that I feel are important as part of my personal covenant with God. But they are indeed mitzvot. And at some point we learn that mitzvot are good deeds. But now, as we become B'nai Mitzvah, we learn the word mitzvah is not just a good deed. The word mitzvah means commandment. And so mitzvot are the commandments, the things that we do not just because they're nice to do, but because we're supposed to do them. We're commanded to do them. We're obligated to do these things. And that's like what you did, Harvey, with your Kids with Dreams Foundation and collecting that sports equipment for kids in need. It's a nice thing to do, but that's what we do as Jewish adults. We help people out. We give of our time, we give of our energy, we give of our resources. And so you know that for somebody who loves sports, to help others be able to have that experience that you do, that you are doing actually a mitzvah, not just a good deed, but a commandment. So we're supposed to look at the tzitzit. That's what the commandment is. And the fringe of the tzitzit, it makes for a great fidget during services. But it also is something we're supposed to look at. And when we look at it, we're reminded that there's certain things that we're supposed to do in our lives, like wear the talit. And you really have a special one, and your grandfather already sent you a beautiful message as he placed it on your shoulder. And what you may not know from where you're sitting is the gift of the clips from your cousin. On the clips are lacrosse sticks, which I think is perfect for you because it shows the love of your faith and it shows your love of sports and play. And it's so fitting of you. This is your first time wearing a talit today, Harvey, but I hope it will not be the last time, that it's not just a uniform for bar mitzvah. As we see other people wearing talitot, some of our students in our 7th grade class who are wearing their talitot today, I'm going to just give a shout out to them as a symbol of faith, but also that it's a little bit of a status symbol saying that I've become more responsible in life. And these are the kinds of ways that I'm going to be in the world, with my family, with my friends, and in the wider Jewish community. And Harvey, you are just that. You have become a more responsible person. You're loyal, you're open-minded, you're faithful. I've seen the way you interact with your parents, your brother, your grandparents, and you have your fan club of your friends over here and your fan club of your friends over here and over there. They have every part of the baseball field covered. You are thoughtful, smart, helpful, athletic, funny, and more. And when we passed that Torah scroll to you today, Harvey, and you were holding it physically, you are also holding it figuratively, so that now you will let the Torah's values guide you in your life and be the person whom I know the Torah was in great hands to pass along to the next generations that will follow you. And as a way of praising God for giving you life, sustaining you all these years, and enabling all of us to reach this moment, I invite your brother Zach to come on up and lead us in the Shechianu prayer.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, shehechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'higianu, lazman hazeh. Amen. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, for keeping us alive, for taking care of us, and for allowing us to reach this special day of my brother's bar mitzvah.
Amen. And so, Harvey, I'm going to ask you to come up to the bima now with your parents so that they may offer you this special parent's blessing.
We stand here today to celebrate your becoming an adult in the tradition of Judaism. What does it mean to become an adult? That's a hard question, worthy of a long, involved answer. Fortunately, I'm not going to try and answer it at this time, but one thing it does not mean is that you are on your own. Far from it.
You will always have the love and support of your family and friends. As you mature, you will continue to depend on all of us for help and guidance. What changes is that we will begin to depend on you as well. Today, you have led us in many blessings, and now we have some blessings for you. We wish for you love, happiness, health, and wealth.
We wish for you to be able to be satisfied with yourself and to acknowledge that you are worthy and deserving of everything good that happens in your life.
We hope for you to be flexible in your thoughts, using your wonderful creativity to accept change when it is inevitable.
As we know, life is a journey. Along the way, we meet many people, see the ordinary and extraordinary, and have occasion to be celebrated and maligned. We wish for you to appreciate your opportunities and accept your responsibilities. We hope that you always have a sense of humor and are able to laugh with others and at yourself. We love you.
We turn now in our prayer books to page 374. Page 374, as we're able, we rise as we return the Torah to the ark.
Supporters are happy. Shalom, shalom.
God's presence be with you always and give you peace. We remain standing as we turn now in our prayer books to page 586. 586. At the bottom of the page, we continue with Alinu.
עלינו לשבח לדור הכל, לתת גדולה ליוסף ראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמעו אחד.
We remain standing as we turn our thoughts and prayers to those who are no longer with us, and turn in our prayer books to page 598 and 599. For those of you who are joining us through the blessing of technology, there's a loved one no longer living of whom you're thinking and you want to add their name, you may do so to the chat or comments at this time. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at the season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. We observe the yahrzeits on this Shabbat of Benjamin Braden, Joseph Einstein, Judy Feiner, Eugene Friedman, Reuben Goldman, Lena Grossman, Samuel Kaufman, Gail Kernish, Janet Marcus, Peter Osler, Samuel Silver, Judith Simbro, Milton Simbro, Ida Watsky, Marissa Winogren, Sally Zink, and especially close to the hearts of the Nossen family we're remembering today, Edward Morrow. If there are other names of people whom have died recently or this Shabbat marks their yahrzeit, I invite you to raise your hand and say their name aloud as my hand passes through the congregation. Zichronam Levracha, May their memories be for blessing as we continue now with the words of mourners Kaddish. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agalat v'zman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mavarach leolam omei omaya, Yit barak v'yit tabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh v'yit adar v'yit alev v'yit halal shemei dekudasha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechamata tamiran b'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'romav Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort to all who are bereaved, and let us say, amen. May be seated. Harvey, come on back up to the bima. I would like to present you with some gifts from the synagogue. These gifts come to you from our Board of Trustees, our Sisterhood, and our Men's Club. And the gifts are as follows. There's a Kiddush cup, candlesticks, and a book on the doorposts of your house. May you use them on Shabbat and festivals, and may this book come off your shelf often for holidays and celebrations, and as you use them, may they remind you of the memory and meaning of this day. Mazel tov.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so we continue now with our closing song. So actually, Harvey, I'm going to ask you come up again with your family, with your mom and dad and Zach, as we turn in our prayer books to page 625, with Adon Olam.
Zach, right up here. We got it for you, man. We're doing it for you. Come on up. And since this was their choice, we invite you to join in. This is actually Harvey's choice. And he chose something, for those of you who are not Jewish, that's going to be easier to do. So if you have trouble with the words, you can sing la la la. Let me hear it. La la la.
La la la.
Adon.
Adon.
Olam.
Olam.
There we go. So there's a repeating section, and you'll be able to join in on that if you're unfamiliar with it. Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra. Adon olam nitnasa v'nesoko azay melech shemo nikra. Adon olam
Adon Olam.
asher malach
Asher malach.
b'terem kol
Yitzir nivra.
yitzir nivra.
Yitzir nivra.
Li'et nasa
Li'et nasa.
v'chesako azay melech shemo nikra. Adon
Olam.
ve'acharei kiklot ha'om levado yimloch torah.
Adon Olam.
Ve'hu haya ve'hu homer ve'hu yeh b'tifara.
Adon
Verse
Olam.
3. Ve'hu echad ve'ein sheni ve'hamshilo le'achbira.
Adon Olam.
Ve'li reishit ve'li tachlit ve'lo ha'oz ve'hamizrach. Adon
Olam.
Adon olam
Adon Olam.
asher malach
Asher malach.
b'terem kol
B'terem kol.
yitzir nivra.
Yitzir nivra.
Li'et nasa
Li'et nasa.
v'chesako
Letzachol.
azay melech shemo nikra.
Adon Olam.
Ve'hu eli v'chai go'ali v'tzor kevli v'yetzara.
Adon Olam.
Ve'hu nisi u'manos li menachtosi b'yom v'kra.
Adon Olam.
Ve'yado afiruti ve'tishar ve'ayira. Asher Malach,
Asher Malach,
V'terachol,
V'terachol,
Yitzir Nivra,
Yitzir Nivra,
Li'et Nasa,
Li'et Nasa,
V'chefzachol,
Zepsachol, Asar Hashem Lo Nikra
And so we continue now with Kiddush and Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagam. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz, v'tei avon, and Shabbat shalom, and Mazal tov.
For everybody that is continuing to celebrate with us, there's a bus for Harvey and his friends leaving around now in a few minutes, so feel free to change here or at Chartwell. No younger siblings, please. All kids under 12 are asked to ride to Chartwell with their parents.